President Biden responding to Russian President Vladimir Putin's latest escalation of the war and his continued nuclear threats. Back again with us this morning, Major Glenn Ignazio, retired U.S. Air Force Special Operations Commander and president of Limiting Factors, LLC. Good to have you with us. Is the president's messaging strong enough for Vladimir Putin?
Well, I hope so. I also think that the actions with a lot of our deployments that are really beefing up the border, say in Poland and so forth, I think that the action is really what's important versus the words. That's how Putin really responds to things, is by action and by strength. And we have put a lot of forces on those particular borders just in case. It's really one of the things is that you have now escalated this to a nuclear capable type of conflict. Would we respond in kind? Man, that would be really dangerous. And again, Ukraine is not a member of NATO, so NATO may not respond accordingly. But boy, how do you contain that type of nuclear assault? That would really be something of a contention, especially with NATO being right there on the border.
Major, what do you make of these latest reports of the frustration growing, not just in Moscow, but within the Kremlin, about the status of the war and some of the casualties that Russia has experienced with its military effort?
Yeah, they've been extensive. And remember, we had this 300,000 call up recently, and these are troops that are or at least they're not going to be trained whatsoever. I mean, we saw conscripts in the beginning, which was a huge slaughter for Russia. Then we had some seriously trained soldiers that were also beat up. And this 300,000, which did not go over well within Russia, is not going to be good for them. There's going to be extensive losses.
We're seeing the Ukrainians with the upper hand right now. Do you feel like the tide has shifted? Is this a war of attrition, or do you think that Russia is quickly running out of steam?
Well, it's definitely running out of steam, and there has been significant gains. I mean, they've lost about another 10%. So you saw, again, in the northeast, south of Kharkiv and Lyman, as we mentioned yesterday, Lyman is really key for logistics and communication. They lost that, and there's an incredible front towards the south, which is actually south of Mykolaiv in the Kherson area. That was one of the biggest strongholds that Russia held. So these strong areas that Russia has said is now their territory are really being, the penetration of the Ukrainian forces have been significant. So Russia's losses have been significant and Ukraine's gains have been phenomenal, but it's still a lot of effort to push them completely out of Ukraine, and that could take many months.
Yeah, Putin showing no signs of backing down. Major Glenn Ignazio, good to have you with us as always. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.